Okay, fine. Oh wait, we already started. Oops.
Yeah, we're starting. Okay. Hey everybody, welcome back. Hope you're having a great day. And today I have invited my friend Heather Hall to have a conversation about some wonderful things that she has been doing in her circle. Heather is a senior at Asbury University, where I recently graduated from about a month and a half ago. And we've had many good conversations, and I treat this as another opportunity to have another great one. So the reason why I invited Heather to join us today is because she started this Facebook page and website called Turning Hurt to Hope. And one thing that she's been doing for the past few weeks is sitting down with various people who are dealing with chronic illnesses and various health issues, and especially focusing on how they are finding hope in the midst of their journey. And so Heather, thank you again for joining me today and taking this time out. I was wondering if we could talk a little bit about you and turning hurt to hope, and some things that we can glean from the conversations you've had and your experience. Yeah?
Sure. So,
awesome.
I'm Heather, and so I'm going to talk a little bit about Turning Hurt to Hope. So originally, I started this a few years ago. So this new video series has been in the last couple months, but the website that I began back in 2016. So while I was still in high school, and I started it specifically at that point was focused more on mental health and just some of the ways that we can find hope in Christ and find help in the middle of just the different things that are going on. So I struggled a lot with anxiety and also some obsessive compulsive and things like that had really just diminished my quality of life. And just seeing the way that God had helped me through that and helped me to find hope again and realize that I'm more than the things that I struggle with. That's kind of where I was coming from in that angle, and wanting other people to be able to see that and find hope, and specifically through devotionals and reading through different passages of the Bible and learning how to pray and reflect and just find God in the midst of the things going on in our brains, and seeing the ways that he helps us, and physically, like he has helped me a lot over the years with that. And then kind of over the years, it's changed a little bit as my journey has changed and I've changed. And so I've kind of expanded it. I started doing some different blog posts for a while, some poetry. I did a lot of that was when I first started dealing with chronic illness. So I got chronic Lyme disease when I was in my freshman year of college. And so at that point, at first I didn't really know what it was. I'd had some health issues before, but it was never to that extent. So at first I had wondered if it was related to my initial difficulties, but as it continued to progress, and eventually I had to leave school and kind of try to figure out what I was doing with everything and trying to find out what was going on with me and how do we get this under control. I had a lot of mental symptoms at that point where I would forget things. I was just having headaches every day. I was super just fatigued. I had like no energy to do things. I would just lay down all the time. So me being at school, it just like wasn't working. I was not able to get homework done. And so I had to step back for a while and really focus on health and figuring out what was going on. So it took about 4 months for us to finally come to a diagnosis of that, which unfortunately with Lyme disease, it's good if you catch it early, you can get rid of it pretty quickly for the most part, but if you don't get it in the first few weeks, it starts affecting different systems of your body. So like what I was having it's called Lyme. So it like gets into your brain, and so it also can get into lots of other areas of your body. So it starts affecting joints, and you start having more pain. It can affect, like, some people affects heart. For me, it hasn't affected my heart really, so that's a blessing. But it can affect pretty much any part of your body. So for me, mostly my brain, some pain, like joint pain, and some digestive issues too with that. So yeah, so really that helped me in some ways to gain a different perspective on life, and I had to learn how to find hope when all the things that I had known and the ways that I had known of living were stripped away. Kind of my normal framework for how to do life. You know, I was at that point, I had been super involved in school. Like, I was very academic focused. I was also running cross country in college, so I was an athlete. So like I spent most of my time doing school and sports, and I had found a lot of kind of who I was in that, because that was what I did and I was good at it. So, but really dealing with illness helped me to recognize that those things are not the deepest part of who I am. And even if I can't do those things or can't do them well, like, that doesn't make me any less of a person. So just despite the loss of that, like losing a lot of those things that I really like to do and that I'm really, that I really enjoy, and also things that I'm good at, losing that. And also, yeah, there's a lot of other losses that come with chronic illness too. Just like, it makes it more difficult with friendships because you can't do all the normal things, and a lot of people just aren't capable of understanding, and that's okay. It just makes it difficult. You feel like a bit of the distance with certain friends, and that was something that was really hard for me, because a lot of my friends were, most of my friends were in cross country with me. So like when I wasn't able to compete anymore, I wasn't able to connect with them in the same way, and so that was really difficult. And also just the loss of, I guess, the future plans that you have, because you think, okay, if you're healthy, you have this idea that you can do whatever, like you have this kind of like open world to you. And I think chronic illness, it helps you to see that, it's not just you can't just do whatever you want to do. So you have to be more intentional in what you do, and recognize that it doesn't have to be some big thing out in the future. That's the fulfillment, I guess, of who you're supposed to be or who you want to be. That yes, there is a sense of we're reaching and striving for something more, but it's possible. Like, I've had to learn that it's possible to be content and find joy in the midst of the things that you don't want, in the midst of not being able to do a lot of things and experiencing loss, and also seeing what's really important. And so kind of a lot of these different lessons that I learned through that journey is what has really inspired this whole video series that I've been doing recently, especially because of the whole crisis with the COVID-19. I really felt like this was something that God wanted me to do, and a place where we had a chance to be able to share and speak into the situation in a certain way, in the sense that a lot of those lessons that we've learned are things that are now opportunities for other people to learn, because a lot of those same experiences, in the sense of there's a lot of things that are being taken away, a lot of those, the unknown future, being not able to do the things that you want to do. You're losing those opportunities and abilities and the dreams that you may have had, at least in the short term. You have more distance from people, and that's something that we've experienced, through our journey. So just things like that is kind of where I was thinking, okay, there's a little bit of an intersection, between our experience and what people are experiencing now. And I think a lot of what you have this choice when you come to that experience, when you're faced with a challenge in life. So, and you really have to choose one or another. I think a challenge is something that, like, these difficulties that we experience in life really shape us, and they force us to decide how we're going to go with our life. You know, they put us at a crossroads, and we have to choose, okay, am I going to accept this reality and live into the fullness of it, or am I going to go the other direction? Am I going to get angry and bitter and just hide away until everything's better? Which is something that with chronic illness, you know, you don't know when or if things will ever get better. You know, a lot of illnesses, there's no way that by human possibility that we could get better. For me, I do have some hope that I can improve, but it's all kind of like, it's hard to really know what it will look like. You know, you can't plan for what it will look like. And even with this whole COVID thing, like, we don't know what it's going to look like in the future. And it's really easy to just get angry and to just say, okay, well, I'm just going to, you know, not do any, like, I'll just sit and watch TV all the time. And like, I don't want to deal with this whole situation. You know, I don't want to accept it. Like, it's just stupid and blah, blah, blah. And it's really easy to just isolate yourself in that way, rather than saying, okay, well, this is what we have now. Well, what can I do that is beneficial for the world? What is something that I can learn from this situation? And it's really about the posture. Are we going to have a posture to be willing to learn and willing to receive and willing to grow? Or are we going to say, no, I don't want this. I won't deal with this. I'm just going to wait for everything to get better. So that's sort of where I've been coming from. And so, yeah, just doing these videos has been really helpful for me to get to hear stories. So, so that's sort of where I'm coming from, in the sense of what other people can get out of it. And then there's another side to it too with this, is for the people that I'm interviewing. And I want them to also have a place where they can share their stories. I don't know, our world isn't always the most accepting of people that are different, or people that have disabilities or have chronic pain, chronic illnesses. Like, people just don't always, I don't think that it's just because they don't really know how to deal with it. It's just there's something about the idea of someone constantly suffering, that, you know, people just want to distance themselves because they don't want to get involved with something like that. And I think that's kind of what we see sometimes with the certain relationships where it's just difficult, because people just don't want to deal with that because it's just heavy. But I think what we've learned, at least what me and some of my friends have learned, is that it's not just all heavy. Like, it is heavy. Yeah, it's hard, but there is also so much that we can learn. And there's so many ways that we've seen ourselves grow and change and become the people that God wants us to be, that we have a new perspective on it. And I want other people to see that too, to say, okay, like, I want them to know, like, there's so much more to this than, yeah, it's hard, but there's also, like, there's so much that we can learn, and there's good that has come out of the hard things that we've gone through. And maybe they can see that in their life too. And with COVID or with whatever else they're experiencing, you know, like, they can see that, but also that people that are sharing, they can have a chance to share their voice and to know that, like, somebody cares and some people want to hear their story. They don't have to hide and pretend that they're just fine all the time, because I think that's something that often we feel like we have to do with chronic illness, because you're expected to just like act like a normal person. You know, you're not sick with, if you have a short-term acute illness, you know, you have a break where you can be away for a while and then you get better. but if you have something prolonging, you know, you can't always have that. And so there's a lot of times where you feel like you have to show like that you're capable, and that like you're not held back by your illness and all these things, you know, you feel like you have to kind of put on a front in that way. And I just want people to know that it's okay to talk about it, and it's okay to accept our limitations. And so, yeah, that's where I'm going with this, and a bit about me.
Yeah, wow, thanks. That's a lot to take in and process. But yeah, as I watch through some of your videos, I just keep getting this. It's just been constantly revealed to me how easily we take health for granted, and a lot of the normal everyday things that we can do that we don't think twice about. People like you, who are dealing with these things, usually find them harder to do. Like even something as simple as eating can be very difficult. And depending on the case, even drinking and breathing and sleeping can be trying as well. And one thing I've been wondering as you're talking is, have you come to a point where, or is anyone able to see this illness that they're going through not as a limitation, even though it is, but not so much as a negative thing? Like, are you able to see that you could find a whole world of freedom once you've accepted this aspect of your life?
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that's a very hard thing to do, but it's not impossible. And I think that's something that I think a lot of us are learning. And I don't think it's easy to really say all in, yes, like I accept. I mean, you have this sense, we're constantly learning how to accept, you know. And we have there's a chronic illness support group at our school. And one of the things they did with us is called acceptance and commitment therapy. So it's like we're learning how to accept the things that we can't change, and then committing to changing the things that we can, and working on like those areas that we're able to work on. So in a sense, that's sort of that kind of freedom thing, is when you accept it, then you're able to make the most out of the opportunities. So, but I think you're saying, is it a good thing? And I mean, for me, I would say yes, it's been a good thing, because I don't know who I would be if it weren't for what I've been through. Not that the illness itself has been good, but I think that the transformation that it brought in my life has been good. And you definitely have to separate the two, because we're not in any way saying, oh no, it's not good, it's not enjoyable, but it's definitely something that brought about change in my life, that God has used to make me into a different person, help me reevaluate my priorities, help me to learn how to trust him in a different way, and recognize my own frailty. And I don't know if I hadn't gone through something like this, like the person that I would be today. If I know that I wouldn't care as much, in the sense of have as much compassion for people that are struggling. I hadn't gone through things, I couldn't. And so, especially people with these illnesses, like being able to actually hear that now in a way that I don't think I could. And yeah, I mean, you can hear to some extent, but it's only when you've really gone through it yourself that you can fully understand, and you can fully walk with them in this deeper bond. And so seeing how God's used that in my life, and connecting me with other people that are going through things like this, different chronic illnesses and the mental health issues as well, like because I've walked through that, then I can walk through it with someone else. And I think in that sense, like that's really good, because it enables me to be able to help someone and qualifies me in a sense to be able to help them and to be able to connect with them in a deeper way. And also just, in my own life, like I said, reevaluating my priorities, learning about my identity. All right, one second. I've got to plug these in. Sorry.
You're fine. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but no, it's definitely, I've learned a lot about who I am and recognizing that I'm not just what I do, but that I am so much more than that. And so that who I am is rooted in Christ and not in my own accomplishments, and that I make myself, worth more if I'm more capable or more strong or any of those things. I'm growing through this, but so yes, I would say that it has been good for me. And I can't speak for everyone, like the people that I've interviewed. I know that they've grown through it, but I don't know, none of us are going to say this was something that we wanted, that it was something that was good in and of itself. But I think that a lot of people would see that transformation as something that's good.
Yeah, as I was thinking about it, like you're not the only friend I have who is dealing with chronic illness. Like I have a few other friends who are going through not necessarily the same kind of illness, but similar experiences. And come to think of it, I've not really had much of a chance to sit down with any one of them and actually talk about the things they've been through. And so that's one of the encouraging things, the things I enjoy about the fact that you are taking this opportunity to hear their story, to draw them out a little bit. Because when you were mentioning something about what led you to start this video series, was you wanted to hear them and you wanted to give them a voice. And that's great, because I think it's very easy to feel alone when you're going through an illness, especially if it's something that would keep you from a lot of other activities, social activities. It can feel very isolating. And so even though you know in your head that you're not the only one going through it, deep down, it's hard to feel that. It's hard to feel solidarity. And that's something that I think you're able to achieve in your interviews, is that they're not the only ones, and that there are many other people who are saying similar things that they are. And so I think it's a great platform. Yeah.
And especially younger people too. Yeah, because the people that I've interviewed so far have all been college age students. So the fact that, at this point in life, because I think people expect, okay, when you're older that you'll have health problems, but they don't expect to see it in younger people. So I think that it can be even more isolating in those younger ages when everyone's super active and doing all these things and you feel that disconnect. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So what else can we expect to find on your pages? So we can find your video series that's on your Facebook page. And what else can we find, say, on your website too?
Yeah, so on my website, so right now I have the video series is the main thing. So I have a blog page that shows, I could actually go to it right now if you want.
Yeah, there's a blog page, and there's a little section where you talk about yourself.
Yeah. Am I able to share this? Am I able to share screen on this?
Uh, Try it.
Host disabled participant screen.
Oh, try again.
Hey, it's working now. Okay, awesome. So yeah, this is my website. Yeah, I have a little bit of a welcome page, a way you can subscribe for email. And then here, a little bit about myself and like contact information. Stories page. So here I have the videos and a couple other, my story and another person's story on here. And then this is my normal blog page. So recently, yeah, I have all the videos and a little bit of devotion in a sense there. And then, yeah, I have some different blogs and stuff that I wrote. Yeah, different posts about finding hope in the midst of our difficulties. So they're kind of on different things that I feel like God has been teaching me through this. So, and then these are my original devotions on this, the archive ones. So these are from like 2016, maybe 2017. So yeah, I think this is 2016 to 2017. But awesome. These are devotional series. So I started with like doing 7-day, and then they kind of changed a little bit. So, but these are
and one unique aspect of your website is you have a discussion page.
Yes. Yeah. Which I haven't had a lot of posts here, but if you would like to join, you can make a post. There's 2 people that posted on
it. Perfect place to connect and share your experiences too.
Oh yeah, these are some things that I've written, some different videos from poems and music video. Oh, I love this video. Okay, yes. So this is a short film on faith and suffering. Okay, I would recommend this to everyone. This video, like, wow, I think God directly spoke to me through this video. It was really
okay,
awesome.
Guys, find that video on that website. We'll put the link down below. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, and there's some other sources on there too.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. So, so as I was thinking about, so far you've been interviewing friends and having these conversations. So where do you see this? Either where do you see this going, or what are your goals for this, and what are you wanting people to take away from, especially your video series?
Yeah. So I'm not 100% sure where I will go in the future with this. I'm just sort of taking it a week at a time with different people that I'm interviewing. Right now I've been sticking to chronic illness. But I've thought about maybe later doing some other interviews dealing with more mental health issues as well. So I'm thinking about doing that in the future, but I'm not totally sure yet. So I'm just kind of seeing where God takes me on that with each person, and just kind of going one by one and seeing where I end up. So I think, yeah, I'm definitely learning a lot through this, and it's been really encouraging for me, even in my own social distancing and stuff. Being able to connect with people through this has been really cool, and like reconnect with friends and people that I haven't talked to in a while. So it's been fun. But
yeah. So I guess one more question, I guess, is, you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier as you were sharing your story, but could you share a little bit more on what are some insights that you have gained from these conversations? Yeah, what new lessons have you learned, or what things has God revealed to you?
Yeah. Wow. There's a lot of things I've learned through this. But, yeah. One that I really loved was in my interview with Kayla. She shared about the way that her attitude changed towards her illness and what she was going through. and how she really went from kind of just not dealing with it and pushing it aside and just not fully accepting it, and to learning how to accept and make the most out of the life that she has, and just seeing that attitude change, that it was just really cool to see how all of that came together. And that was really encouraging for me, and empowering in a way, because it's like, though it's, it's hard because it keeps you accountable, and you're like, it's frustrating sometimes, it's you're like, this is like, I shouldn't have to deal with this, but it's really gives you this empowerment to choose, how am I going to deal with this? Am I going to just, waste away, or am I going to just step up and say, this is how life is, and I'm gonna do what I can and let go of the things that I can't, and trust God with that. So yeah, that was really, really good. And just one thing that she said that has stuck with me too is when she talked about how just to know, like, you don't have to necessarily see the big picture or see all of the good that's coming out of it to trust God, and just to know that he's there is enough, and to know that there's more out there, even if we can't see it or grasp it or understand it, just to know that it's there is enough to keep us going and trusting and seeking. So yeah, that's one big lesson that stuck out to me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing. It's a lot about a change in perspective, change in attitude. And it's hard, and I can't say that I understand, but I kind of get the feeling of being trapped and the feeling of frustration when something is really out of your control. But yeah, and there's not much I can say to that, which is why I'm here to just listen. And I guess that's another one. Not sure how much you can speak to this, but what can people do to show support, or to better love people like you, people like Kayla, who are experiencing health issues, like, and other difficult life circumstances?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, like what you're doing, like the thing is really to listen, be willing to listen. I think that's the main thing that we really want, I guess, is to know that somebody cares enough to listen and be willing to be with us. It's not necessarily that you feel like you have to do a lot of things for people that are going through this. Like, sometimes those things are appropriate, but I think what we want more deeply is just like that deeper sense that someone is with you, and that they're going to stay by your side and walk with you through this, and that they're willing. I think the people that are willing to ask, to keep asking about how you're doing with your illness, and asking those questions. And it can be uncomfortable, I'm sure, but also I think that means a lot, because a lot of people just don't ask because I guess they just don't know how they don't feel comfortable, or they don't know how to deal with the answer, because the answer is probably not what they want to hear, like, it's not, because a lot of people, I think, will come and they're like, how are you getting better? Are you getting better? Kind of those questions can get really, it's really taxing for us. A lot of times it feels like, because it's like, well, it's not the same. It's not like something where we can we're just gonna all of a sudden be like better. It's like a longer term thing that we're walking through. So I think what is more helpful is just like people that are willing to accept whatever you say, and just say, okay, that's like, I'll be with you. And I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, because I personally have found it difficult to bring up the topic of someone's health issues, because I don't know if they want to talk about it. And like, because I'm very curious as to,
Yeah.
what they're going through, how they're doing. And I'm not a health expert by any stretch of the imagination, so I don't,
Yeah.
like you mentioned Lyme disease. I don't know what that entails, um
Yeah.
and so I've often wanted to have conversations like those, but I've I've often hesitated to bring it up, because I don't know if, not so much make me uncomfortable, but make them uncomfortable if they want to even talk about it. So do you think you can, like, is there, do you think that you or they are more willing to talk about it than I usually think?
I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but I would say for me, yes. And I think, I mean, the people that I've talked to for doing the interviews too, like they want to talk about it too, because I think most of the time we can't talk about it. So it's helpful when we have those chances to be able to kind of process and like share with someone, because during the normal everyday things we're dealing with it, but without talking to someone about it through most of the day. And then when we get that chance to be able to talk to someone, it's really meaningful. So I would say go for it. Now, I mean, you don't know every person, and there's certain people who may be more defensive, or if they don't know you very well, then they probably won't trust you the same. You have to build that trust first. If you just start asking, I mean, they may or may not share if you don't know super well, but once you've already gotten to know them and like you have that trust, and they know that they can trust you with that, and that but it can be, you can't expect that everyone's going to just share with you, because people, and there's a lot of fear in sharing about it too. Like, I mean, one thing that's hard for me, I have to share about it whenever I'm like applying for something, and that can be really challenging, because it's like, I know that could, limit what I can do, or how people think of me, or like what my opportunity is in that. And so, but it's something, I have to talk about. And so I think people can feel afraid in certain circumstances, and so they might not share because they're afraid that that you won't like the answer, or that not saying you particularly, but whoever's asking, that they either are expecting some answer that, oh, I'm so much better. If you don't give them that, then you feel like, oh, well, I'm like not, it's not encouraging them, or they feel like they're being a burden to you. They feel like they're weighing you down, and they don't want to do that. So a lot of people won't share because they don't want to put other people down. Or they're afraid that if they do share, that you'll either see them differently, or you won't want to, you won't treat them the same way. Or maybe even for certain people, like they might distance themselves and things from you if you say it. So there's a whole lot of factors to that. But I would say in general, yes, definitely asking. If you're really willing to listen and you're willing to have the conversation, then ask. If you're not, then don't ask. Because
that goes for every other thing too.
Yeah. So yeah, but definitely, I think people do want to talk about it.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Good to know. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing all that.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it's something that both sides will have to figure out socially, relationally. And so,
yeah.
So I think we're taking a good step forward here. Yeah. So if I understand correctly, you have another interview tonight?
Yes. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, awesome. So that will be on the Facebook page and the website eventually. Awesome. I think that's all the time we have today. Thank you so much, Heather, for again sharing your heart, your thoughts, and the things you're doing. As I said, I've not had many opportunities to have conversations on surrounding this topic, so I really appreciate this conversation. Yeah.
Thank you.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. And if you want to check out Heather's Facebook page and website called Turning Hurt to Hope, links will be in the description. And yeah, see you next time. Thank you, Heather. Have a great day.
Bye.